In this video, I'm going to be talking about what is abstraction in computer science according to Wikipedia. In software engineering and computer science, abstraction is the process of removing generalizing physical or spatial or temporal details or attributes in the study of objects or systems, blah, 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 blah. I don't even know what this word salad means. I could read that through 50 times and have not a clue what the hell it's talking about. What really is abstraction in computer science? Abstraction in computer science is a really weird, long, and stupid way of saying one thing talking to another in a way that thing can understand. Okay, so I'm gonna give you the most relevant example. You're watching this on a smartphone or a computer or a TV or whatever. In that electronic computer device, there is hardware. That hardware talks to the firmware. That firmware talks to the kernel or your operating system. That operating system talks to the software. That software is talking to your human face right now, right? If you're watching this, you're watching it through some piece of software which is talking to you, right? And then that software is talking to you, the user. So each step between the hardware, firmware, OS, and software, there is what's called an abstraction layer, right? So the hardware needs to be converted into something the kernel can understand by the firmware. The firmware needs to be converted into something that the software can understand by the kernel, right? So that's what it is. Is that abstraction in practical terms, as far as I understand it, abstraction is when something communicates to something else in a way that it can understand, right? So that's essentially what it means. The hardware, between the hardware and firmware, there is an abstraction layer. Between the firmware and the kernel, there is an abstraction layer. Between the kernel and the software, there is an abstraction layer. So these abstractions are basically, in a sense, they're like translations, I guess. So that's my understanding of it. If you want to say that I'm wrong, down in the comments, go right ahead. I don't care. But yeah, that's what abstraction is in computer science.